It's a personal trainer.
Good. All right, it's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. If we can all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jen, go ahead and take the roll call. Here. Jeremy?
Here.
Erica? Here. Ruby? Here. Ray? All right. Ray, I believe, is running 2 minutes late, so we should be here soon. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? We don't have any changes. No changes. Okay. I will move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Been properly seconded. Any further discussion? And then we'll move into a vote. Jen, go ahead and take that. Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Lisa? Aye. Ruby? Aye. All right, motion passes. Into presentations we go. SHS leadership. Who do we have here today?
We have Brianna.
Welcome. You can come right up here, take a seat. And when you're ready, go ahead and give us your presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brianna Neely, and I would like to update you on some of the events happening at Sheridan High School. SHS Leadership hosted Winter Promo on January 31st. We are also touring prom venues this week, and will announce our prom theme in the next couple of weeks. Last week, we had an assembly to announce the students of the month and academic awards. In the month of January, Leadership students collected over 200 canned food items that were donated to the Grand Cherokee Food Bank. It was a class competition, and the freshman won a donut party for having collected these cans. Cheer is headed to nationals in Las Vegas this Thursday. They competed at state this past weekend and had 0 deductions. Boys basketball saw major improvements this season and are looking forward to competing at the varsity level next year. Girls basketball had their first win of the season last week against North American. Boys wrestling competed at districts last weekend, and we have 1 confirmed student headed to state. Girls have districts this weekend. Spring sports parent meetings start next week. FFA National Spirit Week is February 23rd to the 27th. FFA is hosting the Spirit Week and planning fun activities for all students to participate. Other clubs and news. Mr. Coyle Gaming Club meets every Wednesday after school. Ms. Hanson's Native Club meets once a month during lunch. Drama Club meets every Tuesday and Thursday in the library after school. Senior Angel Dryer is hosting an art show at the high school on February 26th and 27th. This is the community for artists display of work. The Keating Smith Memorial Basketball game is March 5th. This is my report for the month. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for coming. No, that was fast. Okay, we don't seem to have any FCS students today.
They're planning on coming on the months I present.
Yep, that's
So,
totally fine.
We have a K-5 enrichment, middle school band and choir, and then possibly some 5th graders kind of lined up from now till the end.
Perfect. We'll make sure those are there. All right, do we have any public input, Jen? None. And it looks like Sean made it back. Welcome, Sean.
Why did you this slow? It's loaded on yours. Okay.
And it's glitchy on and off as well. That's
Like, it's just things happen.
I can try to re-download it and patch it, but I don't know if that's what it is.
There. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
The purple?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I didn't see
You
it.
know what it says, right?
No.
Operation episode.
Well, it's a summarized, it's a short.
We'll do our best to follow along.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information here. I haven't been here in a year.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. We miss you.
We've had a lot going on. Right? Just since the beginning of the school year, a lot of compliance driven repairs and upgrades even. The high school stadium irrigation system, we started hearing it's a dry system. So we started hearing the air compressor running more frequently, which means we have leaks. And they were due for a 50-year head replacement anyway, so they got it in fixed all the leaks and the boilers, pumps, spring leaks all the time. I feel like we're starting to replace these pumps instead of trying to rebuild them because it takes a lot of the houses that work from being overheated over years. Bleachers all got inspected this year and they passed.
That's good.
We got the fire alarm system at FCS finally replaced completely. And so it's a phase one. And what it did was just like for like the system for now, instead of going up to code. And the fire marshal would rather have a stable system in there than up to grade system, so we'll do that phase two down the road. The elevator is an ongoing cost. This year, the hoistway clean down process. It's never been perfect. And just in the compliance-based costs to date is $104,000. These are often, other than field devices like smoke detectors or heats, we're not licensed to handle this stuff, like compliance wise, you can touch it. And they know they're the only hands in town, nobody's charging what they want. So it's very expensive compliance. Just in this report, there's just a lot of list of maintenance. Lift station pumps out, minor HVAC repairs daily. We got here this morning, 3 were done. And it's just little things breaking, inducer fans, igniters. During winter break, we loaded 2 40-foot dumpsters full of high school's gym. We dismantled and removed the old bleachers that don't get used anymore and cleaned it up in there pretty nice. We've got a structural inspection that was recommended by insurance to take a look at the wood structure dome above the old iron, especially after selling Oregon. They had it collapsed down there. And so they want engineers to put eyes on them. Just in reactive maintenance and repair costs, this school year we've spent $36,000 for repairing. We got new lights in all the classrooms at FCS, thanks to Energy Trust, Oregon Department of Energy, and SB 1149 funds. We're in the process of lockdown shades. We've got them in almost every classroom, I believe. We're left with the on-call custom order that we make for the offices and things like that. We had our guy come out and check out the playground structure yesterday. We wait his report. He got pictures and measurements and all that good stuff.
That's in hopes to fix the swing set then?
I'm sorry?
Is that in hopes to fix the swing set?
Yes, and in hopes for approval to,
Yeah.
because playgrounds are any other compliance issue, they want somebody certified. And while I understand, it's expensive. We're continuing to work with Pacific Northwest Energy to keep the light replacement going, because we only have to 2030 now before they stop selling fluorescent bulbs in the state of Oregon. Oh, easement, water line. There we go.
I'm glad you remembered that one.
Yes. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we have a Leadhound underground locator coming at the lawyer's suggestion to try and locate this line all the way to the softball field. So, because Dick Bay is starting to develop on the other side of Sheridan Road, and the lawyer thought it would be best we really get it down where it's at. Because right now, we're just hearing, I think it turns here, and I think it does this, nobody knows for sure.
So that's like a transmitter that basically is gonna follow the line and.
Well, Greg swears that they ran a wire in that line.
Oh.
So,
So it has its signal already.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's.
And then they'll put it on a map, right? So we'll always have it. Mounted.
Well, I'll have to get up there with the marking ground, and I don't know if that's part of their service or not. That's a good ask, so if they can plot that into a map. If not, then I'll get the GPS out and walk it myself and walk it. We continue to meet with all of the other school districts in Yamaha County, and Yamaha County Emergency Plan in hopes to update our emergency operations plans and kind of make them cohesive. So the sheriff's department and EMS is all responding to the same EOPs or similar EOPs. Oh, it's there now. Yeah, I did that. It's the same thing every year. I mean, they might do little minor updates, but I got that done in December. We trespassed the old Norway rat from the old gym there. He caused quite a mess. We never caught him, but we found his access and blocked it out, sterilized everything in that road. Cross training continues. We're cycling custodians district-wide now, so they can, all the staff know who everyone is, and get a chance to break it up. They'll never do a section twice in 1 year. So, we called in Todd from Walter E. Nelson. He revamped our whole chemical thought process and went down to a station with 4 chemicals to point. That's it. And one mixing, the best mixing in the station. So all the dilution spread. But we had him down in the spring to do a trail in June, and we all got it through with Todd, and Todd showed us how to take the floors down to bare white tile and get all the drains that's been sealed over however many years, and we've got classrooms to look white again. But now we got, we can do that much quicker each summer. Now that we've got it down to bare tile, just a couple of coats of black on it, so we'll save some time and money. We bring some staff from evenings down to days when we need covers, so that they can learn how the process is and what it's like to be available to sport during the day. Evenings will do the same thing. Our Friday evenings are still dedicated to picking a room, deep cleaning, floor buffing, maintenance tasks when we don't have school, because it's not very many kids in school on Friday, so it's a quick rush and flush for them in the evenings, and then they can do extra stuff. Not it.
So you just rotate one classroom around on Fridays and kind of do a deep clean on
We
upstairs?
just, Greg and I will walk around and we'll go, that one is it, you know, and then we have a board in each closet and we write those assignments up there on Fridays.
You said the fire system is not to code, how does that work? Cause you
So-
said phase one,
Modern code requires it to be an audible alarm, a voice, you know, no horn strobes anymore, things like, that's what we have, horn strobes. And so, the panel that we put in is all set up for the upgrade.
Okay.
So we have, it's a 4-strand wire system instead of a 2-strand, so we have the whole wire everywhere, you know, we just needed a staple, because every time we set that thing on, we couldn't get it reset. And, you know, that's a problem.
yeah. Are we expecting to be brought up to modern code then with the bond measures and all those improvements? Is that the goal?
No.
No.
Not in the bond, it's not in the language, we're just kind of tackling it ourselves. You know, when we prioritize these things in the bond and community style, things just get prioritized. I have my list, of course, we all have our list, but the committee decides what goes in that language.
Right.
And Karen and I thought we could tackle this ourselves.
Does that fall under the cops grant or the COPS? Safety related items and stuff?
I don't think so, but that's a good question we can certainly look into.
It covers some low voltage systems like entryway, you know, license scanning, background checks, things like that. But you have to look into that further.
What are the 5 sections again that they rotate in?
There's 3 sections at FCS and there's 2 sections at the high school. And they're divided up evenly. You know, for the lack of classrooms up there, they have the district office, they have building 1, they have modulars, you know, they have game nights, football nights, stadiums playing. You know,
And, do you know what the estimated cost savings, was on the light project, was the ATO and the reimbursement?
it won't cost us anything today. Yeah,
It's Ruby, it's on this, in mine, it's on that sheet.
because we were subsidized and then, SB 1149 allow us to reimburse as a deposit each month.
But we're saving that money, right? We didn't spend.
We spend it up front.
Yeah.
And the Energy Trust and OGOD, I believe, have sent checks already, and so we just pay ourselves back over time with SB 1149.
Did that cover labor as well, or just cost?
Yeah, everything.
I had a question about, you talk about flexible and student needs and community use, so events, games, clubs. What does that look like when it's not actually a district event that's happening here for you guys?
What does it look like?
Right, like what kind of staff do you provide? What is our responsibility as a district? How does that get handled to make sure the facilities are left the way they used them?
Sure, depending on the need. If there's a Saturday series of boys basketball games, we don't worry too much about it. They typically start at 9 and they end by 3 at the latest. And they're boys, they don't use toilet paper. You know, but girls volleyball that lasts 12 hours and the teams are camped in there for 12 hours. We have a custodial staff comes in at noon and works until they're gone and cleans up after the stocks everything.
But that's a district event, or is that any event that happens?
Yeah,
And do
and
they pay a fee in order to be here?
yes, if we provide coverage, they cover that. Yeah. Like Sheridan revitalization, they don't need much, they need the front bathrooms. And oftentimes I just unlock the door for them from my couch, and I'll check in on them once in a while, and then lock the door back and then leave.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's all very depending on what they need.
Were those kind of events like Rotary and revitalization between Sean and I, we just kind of tag team it? And what, just in case, I feel better, like, who is the point person? And
Right.
the organizer knows who they can contact. should they need anything.
Mhm.
But clubs, that's a whole separate thing that Sean manages and does very well, because our facilities are used like almost every weekend
Right, I knew that.
for club events.
So much so that parents think school is in session.
I was just curious what that impacts us, like budget wise and all that kind of stuff. Are we offset by the fees that they pay us? Is there fees they pay us? Who's
I
paying?
don't
the
think that
utility?
they could ever fully reimburse us being in a 501c3 and, you know, electricity and, water, and chemicals, and supplies, paper. I don't know that we could pass that bill on, you know, the whole bill, plus most of these kids are district kids, a lot of them are out of district too, but, I don't know. And how do we quantify how much electricity they've used, how much wear and tear is put on the facility? We had one weekend where, Monday morning, it wasn't very nice in the gym and stuff hadn't been cleaned up. And I sent an email immediately, yes, sorry, we'll make sure that's taken care of. And they have since.
Right, so they do take some ownership.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, no, I think it's great that we're available for the community. I think that's a very important thing for us to be. I was just curious how we offset those costs. There's
Yeah.
always gonna be a
If
cost.
there's a burden on us, we try to offset it, you know. There's like a volleyball tournament, there's enough bodies in the building, we don't kick the ACs out of unoccupied status or anything like that. They warm the building on their own in the gym.
Any other questions for Sean? Well, thanks. Welcome back after a year. Maybe we'll see you in 6
See you
months. All right, Pat, you're up next.
I do want to thank Sean for the work in the old gym. It's a space that it is used actually during lunch for kids to play basketball, and it's over the years of being not a usable space, it's become kind of a collecting spot. So one of my goals since I've arrived is to get that area cleaned up, and it's much better now. There's still some team sports stuff like wrestling stuff and use that space, so it's kind of, but Sean has done a great job cleaning that up, so I appreciate that. Okay, so what I have in my report today is, I know it's been a topic on the news. There's been reports in the Statesman Journal and other places about enrollment in public schools across the state, so I wanted to give an update on what's going on at the high school. The first thing, you see that first table I included was starting in June of last year. So what we had enrolled at the end of the school year last year, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th grade for the incoming 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders. So you can follow those across. This is a normal trend. I know I've presented numbers in the past. We see a decrease as the year goes on for various reasons. What's going on now seems to be more of a trend, like I said, across the state. The ODE released a fall membership report for all the schools in the state of Oregon, and every district is down as we just see a downward trend. Not sure, they're still trying to figure out where that's coming from, but a lot of it is just population growth rates are slowing across the country and across the state. So we started out what we had anticipated in June of 25 was 187 students. We actually started in September with 182. And we've dropped down to 168 at the high school, and you can see that's broken up. We have our freshman class is quite large. We have a class, I think, Jeremy's saying the 3 classes, or not Jeremy, sorry, Adam is saying there's a class of about 40-something, grade 46. Yeah. And then there's a class of 70 at the 7th grade trip. So there's just these weird chunks, you know, and you can remember a couple of years ago, we had a senior class of only 25. And last year, I think our senior class was, in the 60s. So it just kind of is all, it goes up and down, up and down. But what I wanted to do, you see in the second table, what I did is I did a look back on our class of 2026. So that cohort of kids as they entered their freshman year in the fall of 2022, and kind of went back and looked at all of their, the kids that had left, in our student information system, we put in an exit code, and these are identified. The state has a uniform exit code, so they can track all the stuff across the state. And I didn't put those exit codes in there for you because they're like 2B, 3B, 4A, but I put in what they actually mean. So in the fall of 2022, we had 77 kids. That was a large class that started in the fall of 22. Like if you can see, we're down to 38 in that class at this time. 30 of those 38 are kids that started as freshmen, so they're still with us, enrolled. 3 graduated last year as juniors. They wrapped up a year early. This was a number that was surprising to me. 24 of them, big chunk of them, about 30 of them, have enrolled at another school somewhere in the state of Oregon, anywhere from, the South Coast to Northeast Ontario, places like that. I did want to include in there because we do have Willowine is close to us, and there seems to be a lot of, there's always movement between Willowine and us. Of those 24, 7 of them have enrolled at Willowine. 3 of those 7 were in-district transfers originally from Willowine to us and have gone back to Willowine. 7 have enrolled in Chapa. 4, these are the ones we actually, this is the number that's the most important to us really, is the code is 3E. They've unenrollment, meaning they left us 10-day drop and we have not received records requests, received no information. These are essentially dropouts, for lack of a better, that's the term. We don't know where they are. 1 has gone to a homeschool. That's an interesting one because they only get identified if they actually register a homeschool with the ESD. So, but some families don't know that, and that's a challenge sometimes for people to know. When they think homeschool, I'm just going to take my kid home and we're going to do it that way. But there actually is a process. We know 1 has gone into that, and then 1 has withdrew for personal reasons. These are often students that have pretty severe medical issues or other disabilities that their families have just decided at this point it's best at school. There's other options that's more useful to that student at that time. So
would that student not be considered homeschooled then, or is there?
Not if they have it. Yeah, if they haven't enrolled, it's just a weird one. They let us know.
It's like a gray area.
It's a gray area. They let us know withdrew for personal reasons. An actual code. I think it's 4A in the ODE system. And so you don't see it very often. And I know the situation for this particular student, obviously I can't discuss it, but I know the situation. And it was a decision the family made. So those are where those kids have gone. And that was really interesting. I thought that was a good breakdown of where our students have gone in that group of kids. And it is a testament to talking about the mobility of our community. There's those 24, well, actually a total of 31 if you look at the 7 that have enrolled out of state. I guess kids that have enrolled in Ohio, we received records requests from Ohio, Illinois, California, and Washington. So half of that class has just gone somewhere else, whether within the state or out of the state. So that mobility is real. Here in this community. Okay, moving on away from that to some highlights. Like Rayana mentioned, we had our first semester academic assembly. We had 45 students who were recognized for academic honors. 24 students were recognized for achieving a GPA of 3.5 or higher. 21 students received honorable mention recognition with a GPA of 3.0 to 3.49. So that's over a quarter of our total student population recognized for academic achievement, which I'm very proud of with those students and their work. We also had 3 students who were recognized for perfect attendance. One of those, I think he's a junior now. I yes, perfect attendance for all 3 years. So, yeah. So that's pretty cool. So those kids got to come up in front, and it was really neat assembly actually. Kids really recognized their peers. It was actually really exciting. There was a lot of applause and hoops and hollers because we did it by class too, so there was a little bit of competition about how many students in that class got to be called up. So that was fun. We did our essentially class affinity. We've got our December and January students of the month. I tried to pick themes that kind of match what's going on. So for December, we had basically our kids that were recognized as jolly or had a positive attitude. And so those were our seniors, were Ryder Fisher and Liam Wells, juniors Evan Azrikar and Ryan Mode, sophomores Nolan Wilson and Hope Eulery, and freshmen Lily Sproul and Thomas Walters. And you would, all those students always have a smile on their face and they really add to positivity in our hallways and our classrooms. And then for January, since it's the end of our semester, we recognize those students that teachers felt like maybe didn't have the greatest start or just kind of locked in at the end and finished strong. So we called those, that was our locked in award. And we recognized senior London Thompson Sale, junior Nolan Bokoff, sophomore Adelina Hernandez, and freshman Hayden Adams. From our winter sports update, it's pretty much all wrapped up. I think we have some wrestling still happening. We have this, it's not official yet, but I think we do have a wrestler who qualified for state, and that gets announced. And then Rayon also mentioned that tomorrow our cheer squad will be leaving for Las Vegas to compete in nationals. What I really want to highlight is that, you know, we talked about enrollment earlier and how that has dropped. Actually, participation has increased from last year in our sports. We have a really strong freshman class who seem to be very engaged in the group. And if you went to a basketball game, you looked on the sidelines, you would see a lot of young faces, new faces to the school. You see the wrestling, the wrestling girls team increased in size. Our basketball teams were really, really young, like I mentioned. The cheer team has 21 athletes participating in their program. And so overall, we saw 17% increase in participation this season from compared to last winter numbers of participation. So like I said, a lot of that growth is coming from our freshman class. So I'm really excited for the future. I think we have I think our boys basketball team has a real opportunity for some growth, some good athletes. And they had a lot of success. They played a JV schedule, but they played really, really well together, most importantly. So excited for them. So that is it is February board. Questions?
I just want to say that I really appreciate that cohort enrollment analysis.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see the breakdown. You could say 77 and you have 30.
Mm-hmm.
But where did they go and are you
Yeah.
okay?
And I want to thank Matt Hazel, our registrar, who helped me put those numbers together. She dug in there for me using our student information system.
Great information.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thanks, guys.
We really appreciate your SHS leadership that's coming.
I do too. I do too, Rebecca. Rihanna's great. Rihanna is a great kid. She's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna miss her when she graduates. Yeah.
All right, next up we have our super. All right, good evening. February superintendent report. I'm going to start off with our bond oversight committee. We did have a meeting since our last board meeting. RMC provides a status snapshot for that group. And then we went through and talked about our supporting grants, those other funds. So the Awesome 6 million, Energy Trust of Oregon is one of those that we are going to be looking at for some funding. Business Oregon, we submitted a $2.5 million seismic grant for the Holker Chapman Old Gym building. We will not find out about that grant until May. And we have our COPS grant of $500,000 for safety and security. So those funds are managed by the district in partnership and support from RMC. And they just provided a lot of information, and Earlier, I had dropped Wi-Fi and I was able to switch to guest, thank goodness. But I just want to take a minute and show our, you know, if you have a chance to look at it, our bond website and all the information that is on here. So this regularly gets updated with where we're at and including the project timeline. So if anyone ever asks you what is going on with the district, and this also came up at our bond oversight committee meeting of, okay, the district passed the bond and they're not doing anything. And we sent out some information, we've done some posters and flyers on coming soon. But it does take time. It takes time to go through the design and have all the testing done, all the engineering things done. But this is all kept up to date with our current project timelines. And I think this might be a little bit difficult to read as a PDF on the website, but I just want folks to know that this is available and is kept up to date every time we have a bond oversight committee meeting. It's a great resource that we have.
And do we have financials on that yet?
We have, I want to say they're getting the work packages together and the cost of each of the work packages. So, and I know that these, that is not good. These say why that happened. I'm on guest. That's probably what, I'm not on staff Wi-Fi, I'm on guest Wi-Fi. So we can certainly at the next month, we will have our RNC do their presentation and provide work packages and the cost and where we're at, because they've had that. But we were excited that we started discussing for our summer of 2026 projects, the high school parking lot to be completely redone. The high school roof will be taken care of, and we will have finally parking lot exterior lighting. If you've been here at night, it's very, very dark to walk across that parking lot. There's one little light at the corner of the building of the cafeteria. So we're really looking forward to that. And then our next bond oversight committee meeting is in April.
Is there FCS stuff that's gonna happen over the summer?
Not this summer. That's all gonna be next summer, and they will really start doing the heavy work of the design phase of bringing staff together to provide input on the design of the old gym and the space, especially that area that's in the locker rooms and storage. And how do we want to redo that? What do we want restrooms to look like, locker rooms, all of that?
And part of that is waiting to see if we get the seismic grant, which makes sense, yeah, because we don't want to do something and then, oh wait, we have to go back and do it again. So that's part of it.
And then they start ordering everything like in the fall. So they get the procurement, they secure everything early. And I just remember hearing more stories of bond projects a few years ago when everything was so delayed. Like Salem Kaiser had an elementary school that was totally ready to go, but they didn't have the electrical panel. And that was like 6 months out. So RNC is really knowing those lead times. And that's why these kinds of things, the big project of Faulkner Chapman is being postponed for that summer, so we can get the lead time and get everything secured. So then it'll run smoothly, because we know just with how much our facilities are used for hometown days. And when we start school, that there's that window of opportunity. So, but we're excited for the summer and excited to get going. All right, this is just follow up on working with the tribe. They had sent an invitation for an educator administrator collaboration day. I attended that a couple of years ago. Adam went last year, and this April, Pat and Missy will both attend. And we continue to have our curriculum implementation. And in August, we'll have a team go to their educator summit. And last year that was held out at Spirit Mountain. The holidays that the tribe recognizes. The main one is the Grand Ron Restoration in November on the 22nd, and that's when they close their offices in recognition of that day. So certainly what we can do now that we have these dates is to start looking at our curriculum and educating our students in classroom and school-wide activities for these events. So we just continue to learn and partner with the tribe. All right, and then our K-5 reading intervention program. This is follow up from our board work session, and I'm going to ask Adam to come on up I believe, I hope I didn't lose the document, because then if I did, you're gonna have to wing it.
We can plug mine in, I guess.
That might have to happen. So I just asked Adam that we could go through an overview of the K-5 reading, and what does that look like. But I do want to highlight that our reading program is primarily funded through 3 grants. Our Title I-A, we have an early literacy grant, early literacy success grant from the state. And then new this year, we did a supplemental high dosage tutoring. And there are requirements for that. So you want to go ahead and start explaining that, and I'm going to see that I have found this because I put it in our folder.
Sure.
Let me see if I got it. Oh, I
Nailed
got it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't be at the work session at the basketball tournament that day, but I tried to throw together a 10,000-foot overview that wouldn't take me 2 hours to go through with details, but feel free to stop, ask questions, or just let me talk. It's a topic I'm pretty passionate about, so I apologize for Pat for taking over. All of this, our current system basically came back to fruition in 16, 17. So you guys, if you're around for a while, remember we received a school transformation grant because we were a focused school status back in those days when that existed. That year, I was actually moved out of the classroom into an instructional coach position. That was our seniors was my last class of kiddos in 2nd grade. And we basically went to work saying we need to have this thing called MTSS or RTI again. Let's start. So we partnered up with Oregon RTI. We were actually one of the original districts of Tiger when it was invented. It was Sheridan and Tiger owned. Went away for about 8 or 10 years, a lot of turnover. One of my main goals was to reconnect with them. We received an Oregon RTI coach, basically rebuilt the program. The basic a lot of details in there. The basic kind of tenets are you need to have a system that assesses kids, and as kids do not meet grade level standards, diagnoses kids, and then places them in interventions, and then monitors that placement and adjusts as needed. It's kind of the basic tenets of a multi-tiered system of support. So we started that process in 16, 17. We brought in STAR testing back then, so hitting kind of about year 10 of that. And then building the systems up from there. Everything was rolling around pretty smoothly. We saw a lot of growth. We actually won an award at the state level. That growth in 2017 still sits in my office. A lot of things were going, there's challenges, but a lot of things were going well. Then COVID punched us and everyone else in the face that runs the MTSS system because a whole lot of kids got knocked off on grade level as we kind of came back. We had a lot of other changes in there. One, I moved into a principal role and not an instructional coach. We had a new Title I teacher. We had most of our Title I staff start to shift in there. We adopted a new core curriculum, which Dori talked about with CKLA. And then we also started to shift under Dori's leadership to a solution tree RTI model, which is slightly different than Oregon RTIs. And we kind of made it a blended approach. Sometimes you hear a lot about tiers. That Oregon RTI model is really a 3-tier model. Core instruction, basically a tier 2, an early intervention, mostly done in a walk to read setting. And then a tier 3, which is specialized instruction and intensive double dose supports. Solution Tree adds another component to that where you start to look at intervention in the classroom during your 90-minute core. That's also a place to differentiate your instruction. So we kind of morphed those 2 models. In fact, we were talking about that with a few of the ESD folks here probably a couple months ago. And now she's starting to use that term as they look at Solution Tree. Where we currently are. So we have a test. It's called STAR. You guys have heard a lot about it. It's our universal screener. I'll show you examples of it here in a few minutes, but basically, when it comes to ELA, and particularly in K-5, it's given 3 times a year. It is everywhere, but it's given 3 times a year. Once you take that assessment, you're either deemed on grade level or not. Now, when you're not on grade level, you could be quantified by how far back you are on a universal screener. Universal screener is just that. Think of it as taking your temperature, taking your blood pressure when you go to the doctor. It says, hey, there might not be something right, but it doesn't tell you what's not right. That's not its job. So from there, we go into a diagnostic process with any kid who is not on grade level at that universal screener. This happens by the third week of school at the start of every fall. That diagnostic process starts to say, where is the deficiency? So it starts with most grades, kindergarten's a little different, right? Especially the beginning of the year and first grade transitions, but it starts with oral reading fluency passage. We start to see, is there a fluency problem or is there a phonics and awareness problem? If it's fluency and that's it, I know everything I'm doing, I just can't do it quickly and with good prosody. Then I go, okay, we need to intervene with just fluency as the focus. Most kids, that's not the case. Most kids have some sort of hole in phonics or with awareness or both. So then from there, you move into a phonics screener, which starts to tell you where is the hole. This kid's struggling with the advanced vowels and direct triangles. These group of kids are struggling with long vowel sounds and arc control and syllables, whatever. When you go into that, you then take the entire grade level and say, okay, I have all of these kids. These are the kids that are on grade level. These are the kids that have holes that are previous grade level standards content. We need to put them with kids with like needs, and we put them into groups, and then they do intervention in those groups every day, 30 minutes a day, outside of the core reading, at whatever level they need. It's either given by a core teacher, a Title I teacher, or a Title I aide. That is now all required under the early literacy guidance in Oregon. It's something we've been doing for about 10 years because that's when this whole thing came to fruition. As you kind of go through there, part of that is you don't just stick them in and say good luck. You progress monitor every group. Now, if you're on grade level, you don't get progress monitored frequently. It's more of the benchmark times. If you're an intervention group, you're getting progress monitored every 1, 2, or 4 weeks. Most being every 2 weeks. The progress monitoring is a quicker 1 minute. It might, depending on what the kid is, it might be oral reading fluency passage, it might be nonsense word fluency, it might be for sound fluency, whatever. But it's tied to what the skills that are being built in an intervention class. They're progress monitored, and then every 6 to 8 weeks, we have what we call a 20% meeting. You guys have heard about 100% meetings. We do 3 times a year. We look at everybody. 20% meetings, each grade does alongside Lisa, our Title I teacher, every 6 to 8 weeks. They go through and they look at every kid who's received an intervention. Is it working? Is it not? Do we need to make a tweak? When we make that tweak, what are we going to tweak? Instruction, curriculum, environment. Obviously, is that. Sometimes we need to increase that. We might have a kid who's flatlining there, not seeing the progress we want. We go, hey, let's try and get them in an extra double dose. Let's give them an extra 15 minutes twice a week on top of their walk to read intervention to see if we can move the needle a little bit more. That's kind of the general gist of how the process is built. From there, I kind of also want to mention under Oregon Early Literacy Framework, which is in year 2, 3, kind of happened maybe 2 years ago, and the Oregon Literacy Grant you already mentioned, all of this is required. So the way we teach reading is kind of, think of it as like a pendulum. And we go one way, and then 20 years goes by, and go this way, and 20 years goes right, with everything else in education. We're coming out of what a lot of people will call the whole language approach, which is read a lot of books. If you don't know what the sound is, use context clues, use environments, use best guesses, and then read a lot. And then we're going to see if we can get you to read. And it works for a lot of kids. And kids tend to develop a pretty good passion for reading in a lot of cases. Problem is, if you're dyslexic, it doesn't work. If you have some other big reason, it doesn't work so well. So we are now very heartily into the science of reading approach to the opposite of the pendulum. Now, this has been around for 50 years, but we go back and forth, right? It's now required in Oregon. It's what we started 10 years ago in that 16, 17 year. The idea here is there are 5 components: phonemic awareness, chronological awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, vocab. You need all 5 to learn how to read and then use reading to learn content, right? You got to teach that in a balanced way, but really in K3, you're really prioritizing teaching the kid how to read phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency. You're still doing comp and vocab, but it becomes more prevalent the older you get and your foundational skills leave out. The science of reading stuff is basically the idea that you have to do all 5 of those. You have to do it explicit, you have to do it systematic, and then when a kid isn't getting it, you need to have a plan for what you're going to do to address that in a real explicit way. There's 3 big buckets. There's a lot of components to that framework. I think Dory probably shared with you, it's 118 pages or something. In year 1, we were fully compliant as the grant came out without any of the money. It's just the way our system has been built for 10 years. So what we do is use that grant to go through and say, how can we make it better? How can we update curriculum? How can we train staff to do this better? Is really what we're focused on. Here's the example. So you have 90 minutes for reading. Dory talked a lot about that at the work session. The example of that 30-minute time is right here. So let's say you have 3rd grade. You're going to have 3 classroom teachers at that grade. You might have 2, hopefully by mid-year, end of the year, 2 groups that are considered extension. These are kids who are on grade level. These groups are bigger. Hopefully, as the year goes on, we move kids up to grade level. They're going to be working on primarily comprehension and vocabulary skill building. Many of our kids grow up in poverty. There's something called the 10,000 word gap. In general, big picture here, kids growing up in poverty are exposed to 10,000 less words by the age of 5 than their like peers. So we're tackling that everywhere all the time. These groups are really able to focus on that. You have another classroom teacher who's probably a bubble group. These are kids who are slightly below grade level in STAR. Their diagnostics said, hey, they might just need work on fluency, but they just have a couple of advanced phonics holes. They're doing a targeted intervention in most cases. There's not a lot of great interventions in just fluency, so they might be hitting a couple of different things. We're going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Then you're going to get into, and forgive me, every grade's slightly different on this, but it's the general approach. Then you're going to get into true intervention groups. Those intervention groups are going to be kids with different phonics or phonological awareness goals most of the time. They're going to be more severe or less severe. And most of those groups are going to be taught progress monitored by Title I staff who do this all day, every day for every grade level. They follow strict, explicit plans. They have strict curriculum. You're not required to use certain curriculums in the state. We already own all the ones on the required list. The most intensive of that group is going to be taught by the Title I teacher in almost all grade levels because she's the most experienced. She's got a degree in this, a master's degree in this, and she's working with your kids who are truly struggling and have a lot of intervention. Some of these students eventually might end up tested for a specific learning disability and might receive some of this instruction in a special ed setting. But that's kind of the way that 30 minutes is broken down. It keeps going down. You've seen this before. This is that STAR screening report. This is our current 3rd graders right now in winter. This gives you that 10,000 foot overview that we use for goal setting. So that's all of our 3rd graders in the end of January when we took that assessment. Those kids that are green, they're receiving some sort of extension right now. Those kids that are blue and low, that doesn't tell you what they need. That just tells you they're not green. So then they all went through diagnostic measures, are placed in groups, and then those groups fluctuate every 6 to 8 weeks based on our program. If you scroll down a little bit more, here's an example, and I made it really small on purpose because I didn't want you to read any names or anything. I blanked out the left so you didn't get student names everywhere. But this is an example of some of those diagnostic measures. So here we took a group of 3rd graders. On the left, we only did, this is a classroom teacher, not all 3rd graders, so that's why it's small. On the group on the left in 3rd grade, we're not doing this with everybody. We're only doing it with the kids who weren't green in the initial assessment. On the right in winter, we said, you know what, some of these kids in winter we need more data on. So we did a dipstick quick check with all of the kids in this homeroom class. So what you're gonna notice is most of the stuff on the left is red because these are the kids who were not on the level in the first place. We gave this assessment, this particular graph I got from Lisa to show you. You got nonsense word fluency there on the left. That's correct letter sounds and whole words red, 2 different measures. And then you have orthopathic passages, both how accurate they were percentage-wise and how many words they read in a minute. They're on the right. These things are being progress monitored on about every 2 weeks. So you start to get a pulse of, in this 1 minute quick check, it's not killing all of our instruction time, are they improving over time? And then obviously you have your font screens, will tell you that specific skill. Only other thing I gave you there is just to really bore you. This is a 20% meeting framework. So when I say a 20% meeting, they generally follow this gist. You go through and you look at your scores, you look at your groups, and you ask yourself, is it working or is it not? If it's not, you have a group problem or an individual student problem. And by problem, I mean a group problem is going to be handled differently than a student. We're going to look at that curriculum and go, is this not working for the school group? We're going to look at that adult and say, hey, is there a relationship thing that's just not deeply connected here? Do we try a new adult? Do we try a new environment, different time of day, or whatnot? An individual problem, that's going to be tackled in the same conversation, but we're looking at one kid. It might be a group move. It might be in a double dose. And eventually, it might be what's called an IPS, or individual problem solving meeting, where you have a meeting about one kid. Why are they not growing? How severe are interventions? Do we need to look at a referral to special education or not? Is the family open to that or not? What are we going to do here? Those are your, your 1 or 2 or 3 kids a year kind of things. But I just wanted to kind of give you that so you had a rough idea of what those conversations look like in that meeting setting, because there's obviously a lot talked about there that you probably just don't know unless you sit. Yeah, that was a whole lot I threw at you, but I wanted to give you an overview of how it works. What questions can you answer?
In those like 20% meetings, is that like the normal full-time teacher as well as the Lisa?
Yeah.
Like talking, because like the kid's really, really good at one subject, but kind of lacking some reading.
100%.
So
yeah. Yeah, so Lisa sends those invites out every 6 to 8 weeks. I used to sit in on all of them as an instructional coach. Then I got to some of them. Now I get to very few. Obviously, I go where I can. We're pretty deep into this, so they kind of function like clockwork at this point. But it's a grade level teachers team sitting down with Lisa, going over all that monitor data, going, is everything cool in this group? Do we need to tweak here? What's going on with that kid? And then it broaches that conversation of, is it a literacy problem, or has the kid only been at school 40% of the time? Or are they not acting because of a behavior thing that's in the way? So it's just a place to have a conversation of what can we do to help fix, try something. And yeah, that's it. It's Lisa and the grade level team of teachers. And then if it's a student who has extenuating circumstances, someone else might get brought into that meeting. Talk about behavior, talk about what. Other questions I can answer?
You did a great job explaining. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had never heard of, so I agree.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to talk about it when you need to.
Well, when I talked to Adam about this, I think what we're gonna do is take the document that he created, and things got so crazy last week, that we literally worked on this yesterday. So, but we wanna put it on our website, because we do not have a good, we're working on, to get better, our curriculum and instruction website. And I think that is just great information to have on there, and also they can send it out to the board. But I think that just needs to be public facing of this is what we do and what our K-5 reading intervention program looks like.
I have a question, because you're saying that. At what point can parents come in and say, hey, I see that my kid's struggling. I see that my kid's been in reading intervention now for 2 years or something, and nothing's changing.
Yeah.
I want to get them tested. Like, what does that look like? How does the district handle that? Does the district usually reach out to parents first?
Yeah, great questions. It can come both ways. So in Oregon, if a parent requests an education or an evaluation for special education, the burden then becomes on the school to either say yes and conduct that, or show a tangible proof that it's unnecessary for what they're looking at.
Right.
That happens, but very, very, very rarely. Most of the time, what you're going to see is your grade level teachers are going to be communicating conferences all the time, especially if they want to. Here's where your child is, here's what we're doing, here's what we can do to help, You're also gonna have, there's a dyslexia screening law now. So any kindergartner who came in red, tested, received their intervention, stayed red, they get a history of reading difficulty screener and a conversation with me, who's saying, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's some concerns, what are you trying? If we're having summer programs this year, would they be interested? And that's a seed planting. That's now required in the state the last 4 or 5 years. And then really, if a parent has concern, you go through that evaluation process. If a parent a lot of times parents just come to you and say, help, I know they're low, but I don't really know what else to ask for. So then you start doing a lot of hand-by-hand meeting of, let's try this, or we're trying that, or we have a huge mobility rate that Pat spoke on. A lot of times you're gonna get here, they'll be here for a month, and the teacher, the parents say they're really low. And we'll say, yeah, but we haven't taught them yet to see if they're gonna grow. If they're low and they're not growing at a rate of their like peers, that's when those conversations kick in. You will have two things come out. One, they're not growing through our system at the rate, and we might start to have those conversations with parents of, can we look into extra supports? Would you be interested in exploring? Can I go through a dyslexic screener process, which we can't diagnose, we're not legally allowed to, but I can tell you what my opinion is and what might be good to try and see if it can help. So, or you have it on the flip side where the parent says, hey, can you please do something here? Yep, sure. So it's that. So we have a above average number of students on IEPs. We do not have an above average number of students that we had rose and gave them an IEP. We have a huge number of movements. Normal, our process here, you should have 2 to 5% of your kids affected by a specific learning disability that might need an IEP. I would say, I wouldn't tell you concrete, but we're roughly in that ballpark of about how many kids for that specific type of learning disability might be coming out of the system. Honestly, which is why all this stuff was invented in the first place. The state, the country as a whole was over-identifying kids who needed IEPs without doing the scientific approach of it before. Right? It's kind of how all this stuff came to fruition.
So we, from the 2020 punch, basically, have we seen now the trend going back up?
Yeah.
It's working good?
Yeah, in fact, I was looking through some of, we just had 100% meetings. I was looking through some of the really old slides. We had a building-wide goal by the spring of having 70% of our kids on grade level according to Star by spring. We hit 69% the year before COVID. We came out of COVID and we were back in the low 40s at the end of a year of teaching. In the fall, when they got to us, it was worse, we'll put it that way. Last spring, I think we hit 66%. So we're not there, but we're sure chasing it better than we were 5 years ago. We're rebounding. We will have I'm very confident, 2 grade levels cross 70%. We will have maybe 4, but after what I just saw in winter, there's 2 grade levels who are darn near there already with half the year to go. So, you know, then they go to summer and they come back down. Then we build them back up.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. That's it. Number 4. Finish strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen, you've got fiscal report.
There's been, talk amongst the business managers about next year's budget, and everything is very stark and dreary. So I'm waiting for the next estimate to come out, because the estimate, the state school food estimate we're going on now is still based on like last year's, what we thought the enrollment was going to be. And so we're just waiting for the one that's kind of more trued up to this year. And then that will give us a better idea what things are going to look like finishing out the year and then getting ready for the budget for next year. I did this facilities expenditure update thing. And I feel sorry for Sean, because he'll like stand in my doorway and I'll go, what broke now? And I just feel like it's not nickel and dime, we're like $5,000 to that. But the lighting project, so we paid for all of that. And then we got an incentive from the Energy Trust of Oregon. So they gave us straight cash for that. And then the rest of it is going to be reimbursed through, it's the SB 1149 program. And so every month we get a check from PG&E and it goes into this account. And so all of that money is going to go against the balance that's left to pay off. And I wasn't around when this whole thing got set up, but they like allotted at Sheridan, you get this much money, and supposedly it will expire in like 2030 or something, but we'll get this all paid off before then. The other thing, we had to replace the gym floor over at SHS because of a water leak, and that was reimbursed by our insurance company. So those were the kind of the big ones.
How does this compare to where we are budget-wise, what we budgeted for facilities and such?
This is why we have a contingency.
Yeah, and like those, because those, we've got the capital, those 403 and 404 capital budgets. And so that's basically, I was going to look up what the balances were and I forgot. But those are just for like these things, these capital projects that are huge and we have to have some money for it. But we are quickly depleting these with these projects. So I will, yeah, I was told I was gonna look at balances and I completely forgot. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Maybe you can get back to us.
Yeah. And the general fund, I think we're kind of on track for all of our facility stuff for that. You don't remember too much red on that.
I'm just wondering for budget season too, like Sean's been here, is it 2 years, 3 years? How long Sean been?
This is his third year.
Halfway through the third year. Yeah, so we should be able to see like a trend, how much money we're spending each year, so we know how much to put into budget for, so we can stay on par. Because I don't think these costs are gonna go away.
Well, I'm hoping like some of them, if we can get, you know, if we can get
I mean, it's a building, it's.
but if we could get if we didn't have to keep fixing the RTUs, I mean, I feel like it's all, you know, the boilers and that kind of stuff. If we can get those fixed or replaced or something, it's gonna cut down on a lot of, and get the roofs fixed. I mean, it just seems like.
Well, the roofs are in the bond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the HVAC.
Yeah, and so I'm just, those are my, you know, my prayers, that this is going to help get some of these things just fixed. And at the rate we're going, I feel like everything's replaced. I mean, some of those RTU units, I'm like, oh, didn't we just, you know, replace the whole entire inside? So I don't want to start throwing good money after bad.
Right.
So there's a lot of.
I'm just thinking of how we can be the best prepared.
Right.
For the next year, knowing what the last few years have been, we've been set up for.
And
So, I know a lot of this is neglect for many, many, many years.
And our just aging of our buildings. I mean, at some point, but I do know that, you know, the year before to this year's budget, there was an increase in our facilities and all that kind of stuff, because I knew the repairs were coming. So we'll see going forward. Yeah, it's not fun having to have, I mean, you know, like Sean said, it came in whatever day it was, and all three of the units were down. It's like, so,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Any other questions for? Move into new and unfinished business, which we have, board member stipends. We have our current policy and proposed. It's not truly proposed. It's actually really just like a sample. To be fair, we didn't like decide to go down this road yet, so it might say proposed, but just ignore that. So I'm just gonna open the floor up to discussion on the topic. We brought it up because it was brought up at the OSBA conference. It was pointed out to me that, it can be used for a number of ways. This last year, as you guys know, not everybody got to go to the OSBA conference because of a financial shortfall. I got to go because I went on a scholarship. This would be one way to potentially protect our ability to go to those conferences. I do think those conferences are beneficial. I don't know that they're worth the amount of money they're charging. It's pretty expensive. So I understand why we had to do what we had to do. We just didn't have the funds there. There's a couple of ways to go about like securing that money. This would be one of the ways. The other would be to create a policy that makes sure that our budget has the appropriate amount in there that is secured for our purpose only, for us to use only. So it can't be taken to be used somewhere else. We could release it to be used somewhere else, but it couldn't just be taken. And that's not what happened. We just didn't have enough in there for everyone to go. So anyhow, the floor's open for discussion. Questions, comments, ideas?
Does any stipends, like we have bond money or, opportunities like that for education? If we have stipends going into an education fund, does that limit us from being able to get any kind of bond monies not bond money, sorry, grant monies, sorry. Like, would it be like, oh, if you guys have an account for this, then you don't qualify for a grant if you have.
Just like for the scholarship.
Yeah, like the
things that we
scholarship
want.
type
So none
stuff,
of them that I've looked at for the application wise or filled out have asked about that. They ask if you're a community in need and that kind of stuff, and so you really kind of more tell them like where you're at. And for us, I basically said when I got the scholarship, we weren't gonna go, because that was what we had came to the conclusion of. So, I think we would still qualify for those kind of things. We're still a district in need, no matter if there's money set aside or not.
Yeah.
I feel like I would be leaning towards the policy that there's money in the budget for us to go. The thing with the stipend is, for me, it's like, are we gonna get it every month? And then we're gonna hold it until the month, right? And then, right, like, yeah, that's
Right. Because if it's a stipend, then, you would be responsible for it. I assume you'd pay taxes on it, because it's an income to you.
We'd have to run through payroll.
Yeah, it'd have to run through payroll, which probably brings a whole nother dynamic that Karen probably needs to explain to us on what that would look like. Yeah, I struggle with the stipend. I did the last time we talked about it, but again, I felt it's fair for a new board to get the chance to talk about it, because it is an option out there. Yeah, I'm more with Ruby that I like securing the funds, but I like them to not be in my pocket.
Well, I feel like we talked about this quite a bit last time.
Yeah.
I'm on the same page. I'm going to see it in the budget.
Yeah.
If we get a grant, we can find other funds and we can release it back.
Especially if this creates any more headache for Karen.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of a net, right? Like,
Speak on that. I come up with you, it does create headaches for
yeah,
Karen.
yeah. If there's not a perk to it, then it's only really gonna just kind of weigh down the financial process anyway.
Yeah.
And if it's mainly, like you are concerned that people won't get to go to the training events or whatever. I mean, it could be such a thing as we just say, okay, we have, whatever, $10,000 available to the board. And it's always there. And then if we use it, great.
Right. Which is what the policy, if we create a policy that says that,
Exactly.
then it's there, it's in the budget, it's solid, and if we don't use it, it just goes back to the district.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
But it just
But-
protects your ability.
Yeah, and maybe it's not the conference, maybe it's bringing in a trainer instead, because we don't want to go to the conference, or it doesn't line up with our schedules, or whatever. If we don't make sure all of us are trained, it's a trickle down effect. So we can't support Lori correctly, she can't support everyone else, and so forth and so on. So I just think it's really important to invest in our board at least a small amount every year.
Because it was really important not to go through the rest of the conference.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it's like, we always have the business manager summer conference. And I went a couple years ago and it's like, I don't want to go this year because I need the agenda. It's like.
Yeah, sometimes you see the list of
Yeah,
classes and you're like, I already know all that, or that doesn't pertain to Sheridan, you know?
Right.
So, which is very true. So,
I agree. I think having a policy to set aside for further education for us, whether it's conference or otherwise, it's
right,
important.
it would just be the board slide on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, does the policy people want to get together and get something proposed?
Yes.
We can go from there. So, we can do that. Sounds great. Great job, guys. So we shouldn't need any motion in order to do that, because it'll be proposed. And then we can leave it from there based on it. All right, moving up. We have, 2 policies it says here.
This is the same policy, it lives in 2 locations, and we needed to update the language, removing Kelsey Pike as our HR specialist and putting in Celine. And the way our policies are organized, J is one section, G is one section, but this one lives in 2 different places. Same policy, same change.
So we need 1 motion or 2? Because it's,
I
the name
think-
is just reversed.
Yep, I can even do 1 motion to approve these policies for changes.
The policy's the same, just 2 storage locations.
Right,
Yeah.
it should just be 1 motion. Yeah. Okay, is there a motion to accept JVA dash GVN D1 with changes?
I move to accept JDA-GVN D1 with changes.
All right, is there a second? All right, it's been probably moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. Jen, go ahead and take the vote.
Blair? Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Judy? Aye. Ray?
Okay, motion passes. So that's it for policies. The classified employee appreciation week resolution. Lori, would you like to read that?
All right, Classified Employee Appreciation Week is celebrated every year during the first full week of March in 2026. It will be observed March 2nd through the 6th for Oregon. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students, and whereas classified employees with their diverse talent and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sheridan School Board of Directors proclaims March 2nd through the 6th, 2026 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Sheridan School Board of Directors strongly encourage all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals.
All right, is there a motion to accept the classified appreciation resolution as presented?
So,
I move to accept the resolution as presented.
Is there a second? All right, is there any further discussion?
so like, being new to this, what is that? How does the board do that? Like, do we contribute to that? Do we like help, you know?
This is what we do.
Yeah.
We like to say kind things, publicly. Like, I like to give shout outs, like, we wouldn't have a school system if it wasn't for our classified staff. That is how important they are. And we have some pretty awesome ones, and a lot of them live right here in our community. And so I really feel like that's quite a community tie, and I really thank them for that. I actually don't know that our bond would have passed this year if it wasn't for a lot of our classified staff out there pushing it. Yeah.
The district office does do a gift to all our classified, and then each school will do a theme, and licensed staff all chip in, and we'll do special things every day of the week. So it
I
becomes
helped
a whole
decorate.
school.
Yeah, I helped decorate a lot more. But I wouldn't sure, yeah, I didn't know if like the board put together something or contributed something to it, as
No.
a thank you kind of thing, so.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? So, we're moving to a vote then. Jen, go ahead and take a vote.
Latoya? Aye. Jeremy?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, next up, we have our 2026 through 2027 renew, non-renew. Dory, you want to just take a moment and explain to everyone what this is since they're new to it?
Okay, so this document, is our license, whether administrative or, confidential, the employees that are licensed to the state, except for myself. And then where they are at on their, contract years. So it rolls. And, you get down to the list and you would see our probationary teachers. So some of our probationary teachers will roll to contract status. This simply says where they're going to land in that classification for the 26-27 school year.
So is there a motion to accept the 2026 through 2027 renew, non-renew as presented?
I'm going to accept the 2026-2027 renew, non-renew as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then go ahead and take a vote.
Freddie Gray?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
Samantha?
Aye.
Jeremy?
Aye.
Latoya?
All right, motion passes. Okay, next up is executive session via ORS 192.660-I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer of any public body, a public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. So at this point in time, we will excuse everyone. Thank you for coming.
Have a good night.